how do you ensure data quality and integrity throughout the data engineering process?
I think it's part of implementing the data solutions. I think some of these things I briefly touched upon, but to keep it a little bit short here, I think it's a multi-layered approach for me. One is like just at the beginning, thinking of things like profiling and making sure the data is what it is that's relevant to solve the business problem you're trying to do. So doing that homework or groundwork right in the beginning is extremely critical in my mind before you even get started, before you even put engineers on it, like making sure that groundwork is done. And whatever you can do early will pay big dividends in my mind in terms of what you could do in the longer term. That's where getting some alignment, even from the requirements or business perspective, getting them on board on what is possible based on the information we have and what would happen, whether it's from a time perspective, quality perspective, etc. I think getting everybody else. So I feel that profiling is a pretty key aspect. Thinking about what you can cleanse and what you can validate, having that clear understanding that this is a data that I could make better in my process versus this is a data that I cannot. Like good examples could be thing like an address or something like that. If you have a good address and if it's a matter of standardization, generating zip codes, which is important to me, if it doesn't come through the source system, can I, derive a zip code for a city and a state? Like those are things I feel are easy, but that if there is foundational things of account type or something that is getting created at source, I cannot derive those at the lower part of the process. So that clarity is important in my mind. When you talk about quality, what can I cleanse or enhance versus what can I only validate for accuracy? That distinction in my mind becomes important. Being very clear about governance, and governance I'm using it's a very loosely used word, but for me it's being very clear is who is the authority of this information, who has ability to make the calls of what is right or wrong, and I'm not using it like an individual or a system. Like this system is where this data originates, and the owner of the system, the custodians and etc. are very well known, right? The stewards, custodians are known for this space, and who should you go to for which information? I think thinking about it early is important. And last couple of things is making it easy to track the lineage, right? How this information is flowing from left to typical architectural pattern for consumption. Keeping track of this movement and what is happening, what is transforming, what is getting aggregated, what is getting filtered out. The more you can capture, I think the answer to be able to answer the accuracy and quality will become easier in my mind. And last, I think I briefly talked about this whole big into operational aspects of these solutions, right? Are you proactively monitoring? Do you have enough instrumentation to support and keep these pipelines? I think it's equally critical because half your pipelines will run, half don't run. You published one table with all the active transactions, but you've not published your customer table, and you don't have the customers where transaction. You've not. This is a very basic example, but those kind of integrity checks are very important, and operationally you can make sure what you're publishing as a whole is complete.
And what tools do you find are essential for data engineering?
I'll connect it back to a couple of questions back in terms of capabilities we talked about, right? Like in terms of platform is important. I think you make a decision on a platform, whether you're going to go 100% cloud, hybrid, whether you're going to go to GCP, AWS, Azure, or something else. I think that becomes an important thing. Data pipelines, processing technologies, or some folks call it ETL, ELT technologies. I think that space is important. There are a lot of top players out there in that space. Getting that strategy right, it doesn't have to be one thing only. You could potentially mix and match, but being very clear of what you use when is important. Data processing is important. I think we talked about the variety and volume of data. So how do you process in a short amount of time in terms of scale, etc., becomes important. Then obviously your store becomes important, whether you're looking for a columnar store or looking at products like BigQuery or Snowflake, those kind of things, or you're looking for some other type of storage technologies. That's important. Orchestration I talked about. I always feel orchestrating this workflow is important. I talked about monitoring. I think looking at what tools will allow me to do the monitoring that I've been harping upon for last two questions, right? So what are those capabilities? And last, which I also talked about, is consumption side. What do I need to make consumption easy, whether it's the catalog, whether it's the dashboarding tools, or whether making it easy for self-serve users to consume, or analytic ecosystem, like how they run models on it. So those are, I think,
Yeah.
important.
Nice shopping list for a business.
And vendors too, right?
So obviously, customer house, you got that set up.